history for me, it means a multiple.
A rich, colorful history of tragedy, triumph.
Black history is more the foundation of America.
It's definitely a time to honor and really have more focus, not just in the United States, but in the world, all over.
Remembering those who came before us and who paved the way for me to do what I do.
Black history for me is about legacy. And so legacy, when I say that, I am talking about legacy of my own children. I'm a grandmother, so I think about my own grandchildren and making sure that they know the things that happen.
So many people are trying to block just history, and I think history is evolving. It's ever growing, it's constant. And so you can't say that, hey, let's not talk about one history. History it's a flow, because you think about it, every day we are making history.
You've got to know the history so that the negative doesn't repeat itself, and I firmly believe that.
If you know or have a little bit insight, then it's easier to have those conversations and you don't feel so uncomfortable, or you can understand where a group of people are coming from. And so the more history you know, it's always better.
I wish more people nationally knew how rich Black history was in Oklahoma. I'm finding out more and more as I'm doing my own research, because I didn't know that this state had 50 all-Black towns.
Being from Oklahoma, just wanted people to understand that there was a lot of more towns than just Greenwood up in Tulsa that had plenty of Black people, ran by Black people. Infrastructure was ran by Black people. So we want to make sure that we really need to know where we at.
Now we're down to 13, I didn't know that. But there's such a rich history. A lot of people nationally know about Tulsa race riots, and they're hearing that story, but there's such a rich history with Freedmen, Deep Deuce.
And the culture that's around you. Even here in Oklahoma City, there's towns right outside Oklahoma City. Boley, right off here, was plentiful towns that's right here that was ran by all Black people.
Being an educator, for me, I wish that more people knew more about the details of the Brown versus the Board of Education, because even though everybody knows the name Brown, there was more than just that one person. The only reason why that name is used because their initials was first on the list. Brown versus Board of Education was a case where this little Black girl, her father wanted her to attend a school that was close to where they lived, within 7 blocks. But she had to attend a school that was like over a mile away, a Black school. And so they didn't want to allow her to go to that school. The NAACP got involved. At the end of the day, it was a unanimous vote where all 9 votes went for her to be able to attend that school. But being that that school was an all-white school, because of them standing firm, there were injustices done to them, even though that was a case that was trying to cut out injustice. And so for me, even years later as a teenager, when I was in high school, we still had a white prom queen and a Black prom queen. We had to vote for both. And that is 30 plus years later after that case, when it's separate but equal, but it still wasn't separate but equal. And I just wish more people will understand that although we've come a long way, that it should never be forgotten that is still some injustices that still happen today.
We always focus on Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, nothing to take away from them, but it's several other individuals that have contributed to the history of the United States and world over.
I would say the Obamas, and the reason being is that I believe that they are the epitome of us overcoming, not just as an African American culture, not just as a country, but around the world. I just believe that they stood for everything that was right and everything that was not just right for African Americans, but for all people.
Rosalind Brewer, she has just been appointed as the CEO for Walgreens. And so she's going to be the first Black woman to head a Fortune 500 company. And so I've kind of followed her just recently, where I'm like, wow, listen to her story, and just, she's pretty amazing.
I think one thing that we could always do is be willing to learn, be able to have those difficult conversations.
One of the things as a Black leader that I know has to happen for things to change is that people that don't look like me need to understand, the struggle, the challenges, but also need to advocate for that in the way that we do.
Just because you see something happen on the news and, read up on it. Well, why is that happening? What are their actions? Because generally, things that are going on in the Black community are also affecting other communities as well.
Really listening. We have these opportunities all the time to have meetings and just talk about these things and be participating, because when Black History comes, we have these events. Go out there and just be there. Just be a part of it and just listen and see how we celebrate.
Even have a conversation with another African American that you normally don't generally talk to.
If there's something that you just don't understand about why we do certain things that we do, just ask.
We just need to be able to be open and willing to discover something new.
You have to be courageous. You can't turn a blind eye. You can't not want to be spotlighted or speak up.
And my accomplishments aren't just a representation of who I am, but the people who have come before me, educators before me, who have paved the way so that I can be an educator. So me operating in excellence every day, representing my culture. And some people don't understand why we have to say Black Lives Matter, or why we have to say we support small Black businesses. We have to be intentional about that, because people over the years have been intentional about not supporting us.
Yeah, I actually have a story that I'd like to share, because there also is the narrative of racism is learned. And I agree, it is learned. When you find two small children that play together, they know and they can see the differences, but it's not something that's so important to them. They still play. When I was 8 years old, my father was military, 21 years Army. We moved to Italy. So I've been all over Europe. I've been to Italy, Germany, Spain, France, Japan, and all over the US. But we moved to Italy when I was 8, and my parents befriended an Italian couple, Tony and Maria. I'll never forget Tony and Maria. But the first time I knew that I was Black was because Maria pinched my cheek and she rubbed her fingers and said, "Bella chocolate." I didn't know what that meant, but my mom told me it's beautiful chocolate. And I was like, what's she talking about? But that was the first time, and I asked my mom and dad questions, and that's when they really started to talk to me and my brothers about Black history. We watched the movie Roots. We talked about, slavery, things that happened. Yeah, I was around 8 years old when I really started to be super aware of, I'm different, I'm Black. I'm not a white person, and I have to be careful.